Welcome to the Stretch to Go podcast. My name is Ian Ray, your host. And today I have Delaney Smith, based out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. She's actually the founder of Minnemals, a new barefoot shoe in the barefoot shoe industry. And I would love for her to kind of explain how she got involved with the barefoot shoe industry. And of course, a little bit more about her story, origin, and whatnot. So Delaney, welcome to the Stretch to Go podcast.
Awesome. Excited to be here. I'm sure we have a lot of similar background with fascial stretching and my background as a practitioner that we could go on and geek out as much as you'd like about foot mechanics and shoes and all that. But I got into barefoot shoes not on purpose. I got into muscle activation techniques, and gait analysis is what my practice is in. I've been practicing that for about 6 years. And as you learn more about the foot, I took more courses. I then was like, it really hit me of how much is at the foot, and which led me to then seeking out gait analysis training as well. And just as you learn more, you see more, come into contact with more clients. That's really my driver for what Minimals is today, is those conversations and experiences I'd have with my clients one-on-one. How many people I would sit down and test their toe strength, and it's like, you can't even produce, we want about 10% of your body weight to come through your big toe, and can't even get, let's say you're 150 pounds, can't even get like 4 pounds of pressure. And this could be a 16-year-old or an 80-year-old. I mean, it's just so widespread. So I found barefoot shoes in response to just looking at, I feel like anytime there's such a widespread issue, it's like, where is this stemming from and why is it affecting such a large demographic of people? So I found barefoot shoes in response to that just as a whole. I used to wear Adidas Ultra Boost all the time, like the thickest of the thick and the bulkiest of the bulk of shoes. And it just was super organic how one step led to the next, led to the next, led to the next. So I was wearing barefoot shoes for myself, and I would say Minimals sparked because of how strongly I feel about this topic and how little people know about this. And it's one thing if you know about it and you're still going to choose to wear other types of shoes, for sure, by all means. And there's also a time and place for those shoes. But I hate knowing that there are so many people out there that think that they're wearing the good for you shoe, what they've always been told, without any of the secondary conversation about what that can do to your foot strength and foot function, so on and so forth. So all of that, I would say, is what has been my driver to create Minimals.
Cool. So basically, Minimals, the name, just based off of minimalist shoes. Is that correct?
Yeah, I grew up in Minnetonka, live in Minnesota. So I wanted some sort of tie, but I also wanted there to be some sort of minimalist shoe. Okay, Minimals, that makes sense. I wanted some sort of recognition of what the brand is. But yeah.
Awesome. And so with your gait analysis and muscle activation, how did that come about? Did you happen to go seek out through Gait Happens or another institution?
No, I was playing soccer in college and I got an overuse injury that I was told I should either rest or get surgery for. The surgery, which is just cutting slits through your fascia. So chronic compartment syndrome is what I had, and it's a super ineffective surgery. And thank God my dad has just always been very alternatively, he totally missed his calling into the alternative. He was like, back in the day, he had the red light. He was way ahead of his time with that. And so he just was like, pump the brakes on the surgery, because I was, screw it, this is impeding me with soccer. I want to get the surgery, whatever. And so he was like, pump the brakes, let me do some research. Did a bunch of research and threw out all these options to me, and MAT was the most seemingly normal, because I just thought I would go into PT and wasn't looking for another career path. So I agreed to go do it for myself, and it made a huge impact both on me and managing my symptoms and the issues with compartment syndrome, but then also I was instantly pretty hooked on that. That's what I wanted to do.
That's awesome. Okay, so you're a physical therapist then, correct?
No, I'm not. I was going to go into PT school.
Oh, you're not?
That was my plan, and then I found MAT, and I was pretty hooked on it right away.
Cool. Okay. And so for you currently, I guess your minimal shoes, kind of walk me through the process of how you came up with your first prototype and what you're looking for in minimalist shoes.
Well, so it has all the standard characteristics of a barefoot shoe, meaning the toe box, the zero drop, and a thin inflexible sole. I will say when I was working on, really everything has been driven by those conversations that I'd have with clients that have never heard of a barefoot shoe. So in regards to that, I wanted the appearance and just the materials that I chose, the way I did the design. I wanted it to be as seemingly normal looking as possible, the least head turning, just because I would hear, in those conversations, hear people's oppositions, and one of which being, well, I don't want to stand out for the type of shoes I'm wearing, or I don't want to look like I'm wearing what a lot of people call clown shoes. So that was a big driver in my design and creative process.
That's true. Yeah, a lot of, I would say, minimalist shoe could be looking too wide of a toe box that could look like a clown shoe. So I understand as far as you want it to be aesthetically pleasing, but having that function of the toe splay. So, could you show us what your shoe with the minimalist shoe, like, what are some of the aspects that you think that you're most proud of, or it took a while to get it to the way that it is currently today?
Yeah, I would say just how, because this is a suede and this is a vegan leather, and then the base layer is a mesh. And so I would say getting the cut of these right took a while, and getting the shape of those, just the design features, and then how it also, like this is the second version of the shoe. And so getting this bend of the toe correct with the refined with the second version so that it flows better with the foot. I would say getting the shape and the flow of it to be all cohesive took a while. And it's difficult when I manufacture in Mexico, and so you have a conversation, you're like, all right, we're fixing this. They're like, yes, we're fixing this. You're like, sweet, we're on the same page. And then they go and sample and they bring it back. You're like, what? That's what we talked about at all. So sampling was a whole process for sure. Yeah, I would say. I would also say I was the first barefoot shoe, at least at that factory. And so getting them to, especially in the very initial days, getting them to actually have it be completely flat, because that's not what they typically produce there. And it's like, they'd be like, no, but just a little. I'm like, no, flat. Like, no. So I had to really fight for that initially.
Gotcha. Did you actually go to that warehouse, the manufacturing place, so you can see it, how it's run? And
oh yeah, I've probably been there, I don't know, 10 times now. I went a lot in the beginning. It's just always easier to do things in person, and I prefer in person and stuff like that. So yeah, I've been there many times.
Cool. And I guess for you, when you're sitting down with your clients, could you share with us some of the benefits of barefoot shoes that you love to share with customers and clients, especially the product that you have? So what are some of the things, some of the benefits that you often share with your clients?
Yeah, there are several benefits of a barefoot shoe. I would say the two that I really hone in on is foot strength and foot stimulation, or sensory information. If I just start talking about, most people don't even know that there are muscles in the foot that can be strong or can be weak. And if they are weak, what can happen to the whole rest of the chain if you have a weak foundation at that foot? So I would say just step one, I'm talking about the strength of the foot. And that is a really easy entry point for people. My tagline is strength with every step, because every step you take, you need to have a good amount of strength with those foot muscles to be able to support the whole rest of the structure and stuff. So that's a really big one that I hone in on. And then again, the foot stimulation, just because, for example, and especially initially with a client, maybe I'm simply just asking them, let me see how far you can raise your big toe. They're like, how do I raise my big toe? I'm like, exactly, because your brain has been so disconnected from the sensory receptors in the bottom of your feet for so long that it is genuinely difficult for you to move a part of your body. And that's what's wild. I'm like, this is connected to your body and you can't get it to move right now. So those two are big aha moments for people. And those are the two biggest issues I see with people that I think barefoot shoes provide a solution for, or at least something to work in the right direction.
Question for you. Do you believe that people should wear toe socks, or at least socks that are also flexible with the barefoot shoes? Because if you think about it, if you wear, let's say, compression socks, and then you try to wear barefoot shoes, it kind of defeats the purpose, because your socks, or those compression socks, are squishing your toes into that form that your foot's used to in these conventional shoes. And then you're trying to put into a barefoot shoe. So do you agree or disagree that people should at least, if they're not going to go to barefoot shoes, at least do, a toe sock to maybe get that form so that your foot's not scrunched up?
Yeah, I think that's an easy place I don't wear toe socks, so I'm just going to put that disclaimer out there. I think if you especially want to stay away from the compressive, what do they call them? Running style or performance socks, because those are really, really tight. I would say if someone's going to buy into, I think in my experience, people would buy into a barefoot shoe before they would buy toe socks. But yeah, I have no issue. I think that it's great. It's like an easy one step, let's just try changing your socks and you can feel the separation between your toes and stuff.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Cause I've talked to a couple other barefoot shoes people, and of course, there's so many different brands of toe socks or just socks that you can move those toes in, and those two go hand in hand, so it just makes so logical sense. Like the reason why, you have socks is so you can put into a shoe, but if that socks is restricting it, so it's not giving your toes that splay, it kind of, like I said, defeats the purpose of it. So it's just something that I had to transition to myself also, is like, okay, maybe my compression socks, even though they're low cut, they probably have been keeping my toes in the natural split, not the unnatural splay where, it's hindering my progress. And so, I think it's a beautiful marriage.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I have once you wear a wide toe box and get into this world, like it almost feels like constrictive and like a sensory thing. If it's too tight, like I have to be able to do the splay test and like, if I'm good, okay, whatever. But yeah, no, for sure.
How long did it take for you personally to like transition from conventional shoes to wide foot shoes?
Yeah, I wish I remembered, because I really didn't think it was so. And I will say, different for me, it's not like I had this foot pain or back pain or whatever that I've then found barefoot shoes that then made a huge difference. So those initial days of switching to a barefoot shoe, I don't really remember that much, but I don't ever remember there being an issue either. I will say I noticed I'll tend to have a really heavy heel strike and a really heavy gait. And that was something right off the bat that it was, because you don't feel it when you're in a huge piece of foam, that took some getting used to, of just softening that step, which is amazing, because that's something I try to get clients to do all the time when working with gaits. Like, if you can just walk softer, but they can't tell how heavy they're walking in a really thick soled shoe. So I don't remember it being a big process. I still don't run in them. I mean, I'll do some quick, if I'm on grass, some sprints or something, but I haven't switched to running, which I think would take a lot longer of a transition for me, but I don't have too exciting of a story with that. Nor do I remember it. But
okay, I was just curious, because I know people taken, months to years just transitioning, just due to, your nature of what kind of activities you do, or if you've been in, shoes that's heavily padded, like boots or, sandals. So I was just curious.
Yeah. Sorry to disappoint you with not an answer.
And then, no, you're fine. And then for you, how have you grown your business from the beginning to current state that it is today? What was it? What was the journey like?
It's just been a day by day. I mean, even since the first time I had the thought of Minnemals, I have literally just held myself to day by day by day, because especially as a self-funded company, it's not like I can dump all this money into ads and I'm going to have an explosive growth. It really is organic, little by little, move the needle X amount this day. I mean, it's day to day, it doesn't feel like I'm moving the needle a ton. And then you look back, you're like, wow, I've actually grown a lot. Both in, I didn't have a background in any of this, so I'm learning so much as well. But I would say I have had some exciting partnerships that do well. But honestly, again, it's the not exciting, not flashy story that I have with growth so far. But that's what it takes. It's like that little by little consistency, determination, all that stuff. So, I mean, education's been really important for me too, and that's what I try to hone in on with social media and stuff too. But I would say a mixture of word of mouth, social media, some partnerships. Yeah, it's just the boring behind the scenes, grinding it.
Yeah. I know, speaking of partnerships, I know you have been working with a semi-pro soccer team there locally. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Minnesota Aurora.
Yeah, how'd that come about?
Again, really organically. I reached out to one of the coaches and was like, just a little snippet about, here's why you should care about foot strength, especially as a soccer player. And it resonated well, and I went and met him, and then, it's just been a really, really easy, we're very aligned, and, obviously women's sports is something that we're aligned on, and I had a background in soccer, and again, it just really organically happened.
That's awesome. Especially they're local, so they can continue to support you and vice versa. And, you get the exposure as well.
Yeah, it's been fun to go to as many home games as I can.
Kind of talk to me. You went to the recent Barefoot Shoe Expo in Denver, Colorado. What was that like? Was that your first expo?
My first expo, yeah, I've done a lot of pop-ups, but that was my first large scale expo. Lots learned, even just simply getting there and getting my stuff there and how much to bring just has a learning curve when you haven't done it before. So it was great though to be. I've also never, and this was true to a lot of brands, but I've never been in a spot that has, I mean, everyone already knows what a barefoot shoe is and everyone already knows the benefits of it. So I didn't spend a single ounce of, well, there were a few conversations that people were like, I've heard about it and I'm local, so I came, but I don't really know much. But beyond that, like I didn't have to educate, I didn't have to talk about it. So that was, I mean, awesome to have that taken off my plate of the whole education background. But yeah, it was cool to be in a room with all people that are on the same page, and hearing some of their stories and what it's done for them is really cool too. I don't usually make 10-year plans because I never know. I mean, 5 years ago, I had no idea I was going to be doing what I am now. I just thought I was going to continue growing my practice. But I am definitely working on a new line. I have a few half sizes coming out. I hope to have all half sizes and, you know, many different versions. I want to have a wide line for, I just know there's not, you can't get one size fits all for how many different foot types are out there and foot sizes out there. So definitely expansion of lines and offerings. I want to do more in-person, bigger events. I love that. And I want to add a kids line because that's really where it starts, is at the kids age. Really from like age 3 is when this whole issue with shoes starts. So I want to have that as well.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. Kids' shoes. I think that's a great foundation to have that for them because yeah, they're growing, they're molding, and you know, you don't want them to be constricted, and that's to where they're going to lead to that type of pain. Totally understandable.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you see personally how the barefoot shoes industry evolving in the future?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because you look at just trends within different realms too, not just shoes, but you know, we had the boom of barefoot shoes back in 2010 and then it fizzled off, and now we've had such an exaggeration into a maximalist shoe. Now it seems like that dial is being turned back into more natural, a little bit more minimalist. So I think, in my opinion, at least I know I make a point to educate at least some as much as I can with this. And I think so many people jumped into it in 2010 and so many people started running in it. And I'm like, please just start with like a 10-minute walk in these and then slowly build from there, because you have to let your body have time to adapt and strengthen. So in my opinion, I think we're going about it in a smarter way because it's recognizing that there has to be a transition period with that as well. But I think there's such great momentum building around, I would say, the barefoot shoe realm, but then also just education of your whole body as a whole connected chain, and how can you neglect the foot with that?
Yeah, definitely. With my work with doing fascia stretch, definitely I always preach upon also as well, like how everything is interconnected from the bottom up. And so like that's why it really honed to me, like knowing that whenever I'm treating clients, my first thing I look at is typically the feet, you know, whether if they're pronated, if they even can supinate flex, because that tells a lot more about where they're putting their pressure, where they're standing, and of course posture. When I'm doing analysis of the posture, it just tells a lot more than what they tell me. So it's always been interesting that whenever I started on this journey, it's about a year now that I've come to barefoot shoes and doing the fast stretch. It's a great complementary thing where I'm like, if you can increase, you know, your foot strength, I think we can fix a lot going up the chain from, you know, tight hips to tight ankles, the unstable knee, like you're kind of mentioning, the whole connect chain. It does get impacted from the ground up. Yeah, totally. More of my practitioners like myself can see that, you know, what we do as fascia stretch practitioners, it's also, you have to look at the foot.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, it's not like the foot is the only source of issues, but that's the big thing for me, is that the foot has been neglected. Like everyone knows, yeah, you want to have strong hips, you want to have good mobility in your hips, so on and so forth, but no one talks about the foot. Not no one. People are starting to, but as a general rule, most people don't think about the foot's role in all of that.
Yeah. Especially athletes wearing those, you know, whatever, if it's basketball shoes, cleats, I think those tend to be overlooked. They train everything else, but the feet. So no wonder there's so many injuries coming up nowadays with Achilles, ACLs, MCLs. I mean, goodness. I had one of my earlier podcasts I did was with Coach Changji. I don't know if you heard of him, but he does hyperarch fascia training, and so he works with a lot of athletes as well. And a lot of it is, talking about foot strength and how that translate into their activities on the court or in the field. And so one way is, of course, the fascia that we like to talk about, and it was fun to kind of geek out on it. My last question I have for you is, what are some ways that you plan to create more awareness and exposure for Minnemals?
Couple different avenues. Social media is a really easy, low-hanging fruit of posting as much as I can. Unfortunately, you have to work with the algorithms on who it'll reach and how you do it. But I am working towards bigger scale events that aren't necessarily specific to Barefoot. So, for example, I'm doing an event called the Running Man, which is awesome and everyone should look it up. But the Running Man in September, and that's just a health and wellness event. And so popping up there, I'm going to be talking about all things foot strength. I mean, everything we've been talking about, right? But I love in person because of my background as a practitioner. And so doing those, but on larger scales, just because you can reach more people is a direction that I'm working towards.
Gotcha. Cool. That's awesome. So for those of the audience who want to learn more about Minnemals and, of course, purchasing, your shoes and trying it out, how can they find you and where can they purchase your Minimal shoes?
The website is minnemals.com, and then all the social media is the same, Minnemals.
Sounds good. And of course, definitely looking forward to seeing your growth. Just since you're in the barefoot industry, I know it's a growing space, but there's very unique aspect about your shoe that I think a lot of people can probably benefit from. So thank you so much for hopping onto the podcast, and I wish you the best.
Of course, I appreciate any time that I can talk away about this stuff. So thank you for having me.
Yep, no problem. All right. And don't forget to tune to the Stretch to Go podcast. We release new episodes every Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks, everyone.